Well, I got done reading An Apple Sleep Experiment, Chapter 5, No Pain, No Gain, and I'm mixed on it. Like, I like this chapter. Everything that, well, not everything, but 95% of the things that happen in this chapter is good. 95% of it, I'd say, or 90, maybe 80% of it. Where the rest of it is problematic for me. Not like, and I say that, and it's probably not the right word to use, but how do I say it? Basically, it's the same problem I have with chapter 1, because Filthy Rich is in this chapter. In this chapter, Filthy Rich, he gets his 400 jars, and Applejack thinks, that's it, because that was the deal. It's twice he ordered from last year. But he said, every jar of jam, so that means they're going to be hurting in the winter now. And he even says that she can buy it back for personal use only. And if push comes to shove, he can just come back to her. But the way he's written and the way I described it, even if he just feels out of character still. And what's weird in this one, he seems in character, but yet out of character at the same time. Because it doesn't seem like he's written as much of. In the first chapter, the way he's written seems more like a rude and douchey, bitter businessman, or pony in this case. And here it still seems like it, but not as bad as it was in chapter 1. But that's mainly because of the facial expressions he made in the first chapter he was in, which was the first chapter. He just seemed to, they wrote him to be douchey in the first chapter, at least get across that he's going to be out of character in this story. And yeah, I know they made that clear. It's still, I don't know. I feel like you could write the story and have Filthy Rich still be in character. Or, like I said for the first chapter, just replace Filthy Rich with his wife, Spoiled Rich. There you go. I think that would make a lot more sense. Or you can probably just put an OC there who's supposed to be like him and just say Filthy Rich is out of town or is dead in this or something. I don't know. I appreciate him putting him in here though, because I mean, I get it. It makes sense because he's the main one who does business with the Apple family anyway, which is why I don't like it, but I don't really know if I hate it either. Because it makes sense to put him in here, like I said, because is the main one who does business with the Apples. But honestly, this seems something like Flim and Flam would do the more I think about it. So maybe you could have took Filthy Rich out and just have where maybe he's dealing with the heat stroke or trying to do business somewhere else at the moment, and it's Flim and Flam that Granny Smith borrowed Depp to, and they're the ones trying to, get all the jams of jars, which honestly, the more I think about, would make a lot more sense because Applejack didn't kind of want to. Let's be honest, if My Little Pony was an adult show, I'm pretty sure Applejack probably would have tried to kill them already. Like, she probably would have done attempted murder on them so many times in the show if it was for adults. So really, the more I think about it, yeah, don't even put Spoil Rich. Just give us an explanation of where Filthy Rich is and why he's not there, and just have where, or why they wouldn't ask him for help. Maybe because they probably would have to be more put in depth a bit more, I guess. But I don't know. Just the more I think about it, replace Filthy Rich with Flim and Flam, and there you go. I think that would fix that issue I have. It's not really enough, even though it bothers me a lot the more when I read it and I think about it. It doesn't ruin the story. It is one of those characters. It's kind of like when Fred Flintstone in the live action movie and Barney Rubble, how they were kind of not really their personality, I'd say, but their intelligent level was switched around where Fred didn't seem that smart and Barney seemed smarter. It's questionable, and when you look back at the actual show and then compare it to the movie, it does make you scratch your head. But if you look at that movie on its own little thing and then be like, you would think about it and you think about the plot and be like, yeah, it makes sense for the plot of the movie. Does it is it faithful to the show? I'd say no, but it doesn't ruin the movie. It doesn't ruin the movie for me. Yet again, it's been years since I've seen the Flintstone movie. I'm just going by recent memory when I watched it. I think I watched it 2 to 3 years ago, maybe 4. This one though, it's recent because I'm rewatching My Little Pony for a lot of reasons, because I got some projects for My Little Pony I want to make, some fan-made projects, because, the fandom's still going, so why not make some of my own? I always wanted to be a big part, wanted to make some fan projects of fandoms, but either they didn't last long or, it just kind of got to the point where I didn't want to be a part of it. Camp for the one that didn't last long, and Has-Been Hotel Hell Lost for ones I just don't want to be a part of anymore. But that's for different reasons. Not really the fan. Part of it's the fandom, but not really. Another mainly is just how the show is written and stuff. I just don't really like it anymore. But My Little Pony I still like, so I do want to make some more My Little Pony projects. But I'm getting a little off track here. Back to the chapter, to the stuff I liked in the chapter. I really like the Apple Bloom and the rest of Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle finding out about the depth. It's in spirit with the show. I can see if this was an actual episode of the show. Which, honestly, the more I think about it, with how season 9 was written, I'm surprised we didn't actually get an episode somewhat like this. But if this was an episode of My Little Pony, I can see them spying on them and learning about the depth that way, because it's in character. That's what's weird. It just seems like Applejack and the Apple family are in character. Twilight felt in character to me. It kind of Twilight to me felt like, really, she felt like the Twilight from season 8, Rakuf in a Soft Place, I think that was the name of the episode, where the scene I'm thinking about is when Rakuf tells her he wants to be turned into stone, and she's trying to get him to reconsider, and then she agrees to it, tells him she has to spell, and then begs him again to reconsider. That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like that with her in that chapter 2, where she didn't want to give her the potion, but then, she saw how desperate she was, so she gave it to her, made her promise for the last resort. So yeah, Twilight feels in character. But going back to this chapter, again, I think it's in character the way the Kitty Mark Crusaders find out about the depth. Though there is a questionable line where they mention Diamond Tiara and saying, reformed or not, she's never going to let you live this down. And that confuses me for so many reasons. Because I feel like if she's reformed, wouldn't she... I don't know. Unless she just means she's just going to keep talking about it and being shocked about it, then she is going to be bullying her about it. Because if she's reformed, then wouldn't she not be bullying her? Which, getting off track a little bit here, but where did they go after they were reformed? That really bothers me. We see them in the background, but we never see them interact with the CMC ever again. So what's the point of redeeming that? And that's the one thing I hate about the show. But again, getting off track, back to this chapter, I find out about that, and I like how Scootaloo, and I feel like it's probably a reference. Well, not really a reference. I wouldn't say a reference, but maybe a nod, but I don't know why. I haven't read the story yet, but I know the plot of it. But it reminds me, it feels like it's trying to do a nod to the Rainbow Factory, where she notices the danger and something off with Applejack. I don't know, when I was writing that, I was just thinking, well, she was in Rainbow Factory, that's probably why she's the one who knows something's off, which I know it's not likely. It's probably just me just, looking deep into it, but I just really like that. But what basically happens after the jam. They find out about the dep, as I said. Lord knows how many times right now through this video. But when they find out about the dep, Scootaloo tries to tell him something's wrong with Applejack. She's angrier than usual, but she didn't say that. But by the time Scootaloo gets their attention, they find out that Applejack was bucking an old tree, but she bucked it so hard that she broke her legs. Which I find interesting. Because you would now to be fair, I did know this going in just because I looked up an Apple Sleep experiment and I looked through some fan arts and stuff, and I noticed where Applejack had leg braces. I was like, why does she have that? Then someone mentioned how she broke her legs, and I was like, oh. But it doesn't ruin the chapter for me. It really makes it more interesting going into the story, knowing she's gonna break her legs. And seeing how she breaks her legs, I think, yeah, honestly, it makes sense. I think she would be a little weakened after working so much, and then in that heat and staying up so late with no sleep, it makes sense that she would break her legs like that. Like, Applejack's strong, but I don't think anyone's gonna be that strong. Like, cause even before she drank the potion, she was struggling just in the heat. So yeah, that makes sense how she breaks her legs. But why I find it interesting, because when you think Applejack, being a killer, I think you're instantly gonna think about her strength, because she's the element of honesty, and honesty is strong. So therefore, she is strong herself. It's like if Rainbow Dash is a serial killer, and she lost her wings, and she is no longer fast. It is an interesting decision if they removed her wings, and there probably is a creepypasta like that, and I'm, if there is, then I did not know that until now, but I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of creepypastas, not just a My Little Pony, but literally original creepypastas and creepypastas of other cartoons. That's just how it is ever since the internet became a thing. That's just been growing along with Rule 34, and as I said before, and I'll say it again, creepypasta is literally the Rule 34 of horror. If it exists, there's going to be a creepypasta of it. I don't care. Except maybe G1 of My Little Pony, but to be fair, I don't think it was that popular or worth making into a creepypasta. At least not with the internet like this one is. But I do wonder, though, because now Applejack, I'm pretty sure, would still have strength in her front hooves, her front legs. But the more I think about it, I don't think we ever seen her use her front legs for her strength at all. It's always her back legs. So it's interesting that they get broken in that. But she did set a bone. I think that's what it was called. That's what it said in the pasta. She put them back in place, but they're still, or at least back into her legs, because they've broken so much. They were bad. She broke her legs badly to the point where the bones were sticking out of her skin, her fur and skin, and her hooves were turning the wrong way. And I also find it interesting, and I think this is where I know it is, but I can't remember what part it's referencing that, or at least how far into the original creepypasta. But there is a reference to what's it called? The Russian sleep experiment, talking about they don't feel pain. She didn't feel pain, but she still reacted when her body still felt nauseous and numb when she broke her legs. And she still felt the her legs getting weak and useless, but she didn't feel the pain. Same thing when she popped the bone back in place. She did not feel the pain, but she still flinched because she heard the sound. And I like how this does make me like the story a lot more, though. Even though I don't like the whole filthy rich thing, I think you could, as I said, replace it with Flim and Flam, or spoiled rich, and it would have flowed better, or worked better for me at least. Even though I do understand why it's Filthy Rich, I just feel like the way he's written, I feel like you could replace him with those other three. One of the other three there with either Spoiled Rich or Flim and Flam. But it's hard for it to be a complete negative. So I want to go ahead and clarify real quick. This chapter is good but flawed because of Filthy Rich's thing. It's amazing but flawed, shall I say. But I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I realize the subtlety of it really wins me over. Despite that negative I have, its positives are outweighing its negatives with the references and of the Russian sleep experiment. Because I'm going to be honest, I like references as long as it's not overcrowded and it's used in the right way. And I think this is a subtle and relaxed way of using it, and I really like how they do it. Plus, it benefits the story, just showing how Applejack's reacting without any sleep, and maybe because I still have the theory until I finish the review. I'm still gonna have the theory of maybe it's not that she didn't take the potion. I'm just gonna say that. I might be wrong because that does kind of lead a little bit more toward it could being the potion because of how she couldn't feel any pain or anything. Plus, it would make sense because the original Rest and Sleep experiment did have the whole gas, which got rid of sleep. But you never know. Well, those who read it do, but those who haven't, like me, and are reading it now or whatnot, don't know that it could just be her getting, losing her mind during the heat, and the heat got to her head and she kind of went a little crazy, and that potion probably didn't do nothing, or that potion just made it worse because she drank all of it while she was burning up and already was not sleeping, was already had a lack of sleep. I'm just seeing it. It seems like the author wants it to be a left to interpretation story until the sequel comes out. Yes, I don't know too much about the sequel, but I'll go ahead and say I know about the ending. Which I'm not going to say ruins this story, but does make me question the chapter a little bit. Not chapter, but the second story a little bit. But I don't know much about the second story. The sequel. I just know about the ending. But ignoring the sequel coming out, it feels like this is going to be a left to interpretation story. And right now I'm interpreting it kind of not really being the potion itself. I say the potion combined with the heat is what's making it bad. I feel like, yeah, she drank the potion. It would have kept her awake, but I feel like it would have resulted into how it would in the show. I think in the show it would result in her staying awake and all that stuff and getting grouchy and all that, but it wouldn't really go to murder or as gory as it was. Yes, I know that's kind of dumb because it is a creepypasta. It's for adults. They're obviously gonna go with, I guess, a realistic not coincidence, but side effect, if you will. But you never know. They probably wouldn't. But really, for me, I think just because it's a creepypasta, not because it's creepypasta, but because of the potion mixed with the heat, I think that just really screwed with her way more than it would have if she just drank the potion. Even then, she shouldn't have drunk all of it. I think she could have just took a sip and she would have been better off. But I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of interpreting. I'm leaning more to it being both the potion mixed with the heat. But I gotta read the story to fully come to the conclusion or make it up on my own. Because again, I feel like this is going to be in a left to interpretation story. But I might be wrong about that. Until then, though, I do like this chapter, even though it's got that one flaw. I'm gonna say it's an amazing chapter, but flawed. It really is. No, it's not amazing but flawed. It's amazing, but with one problem, that is Filthy Rich. The rest of it, I really love. It's got me excited what's gonna happen. This chapter ends with her getting ready to go to Ponyville Hospital. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. I heard Trixie, and yes, I know I heard Flim and Flam show up, but I don't know what their role in the story is going to be. If they're going to be in there as like mentioned cameo or whatnot. But I guess I'll find out next week when I read an Apple Sleep Experiment. I've been trying to get this out, y'all. I'm sorry. I've been trying to get this stuff out way longer, not longer, but earlier. But I just been caught up with work, and by the time I get off, I just don't want to do anything but lay down and sleep. Especially because I have to go to bed at 11 and wake up at 8, and sometimes I don't go to sleep when I need to. Like last night, I went to bed at 12 and woke up at 7. I know that's a good amount of time, but it did not feel like it for me. It just felt like I could have used an extra hour. But until then, but beside that, I really do like this chapter. I'm excited to see what happens next. It's it's got me hooked. Unlike Cupcakes, I wouldn't say it didn't. Well, Cupcakes kind of got me hooked, but really kind of in a more ironic way. Like, all right, I'm already here. Let's see where this ends, where this goes, and what happens type of thing. Or like, I'm already reading it. Might as well finish it. Where Rocket to Insanity, it did at first, but then it let me down. I was no longer interested, but just decided to read it anyway for multitude of reasons, to review it because I wanted to go ahead and read and review it because it was a popular one, and for a certain project I'm working on, which I promise I will explain that sometime in the future. I don't know when, so please don't ask. Don't expect anything soon. I don't know when I will talk about it, but just know that I have a lot of My Little Pony creepypastas, not creepypastas, but a lot of My Little Pony projects I'm working on, or at least a decent amount. Right now, the first one I'm working on is a My Little Pony creepypasta story I'm working on. It will have chapters, and I don't know how long it's going to be. Probably a long one, just by the thought of it and how many creepypastas there are. And I promise you that will make sense when I explain it. Until then, though, just know I'm working on that, and if some of these creepypastas I'm reading because of their popularity and because of the creepypasta project I'm working on, because I have to. But there are some I refuse to read, and I don't think some of them aren't even popular. I think they're just known for very bad reasons, and probably popular because of the bad reasons, like a Sweet Apple Massacre. I'm not reading that one, and Trixie's Funhouse. I'm not reading that one. I refuse to read that one. From what I heard and the stuff it's got in it, I don't want to read that. I'm sorry, I'm not reading it. Please, I beg of you, please, dear God, please don't ask. And if y'all do, I'm just gonna say no. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna read them. I'm not. If I'm gonna do anything with it, I'll just react to somebody talking about it. That's it. Or maybe just go to Lost Narrator. I'm pretty sure she did a reading of that and just listen to that. I don't know. I'd rather just hear someone review it before I even read it myself, honestly. But with that said, though, this is the Gaming Reader. I really like this chapter. I'm liking the story so far. It's really good so far. Is it flawed? Yes, that is because, again, Filthy Rich. But so far, the story is pretty good. It's got me hooked and curious what's going to happen, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. I can't wait to finish it, and I can't wait to binge read it because I feel like the flow / pacing would work just a little bit better. Not if I read it all in one sitting. I have no plans on doing that, especially with some of the chapters being 1,000+ words, some even 2,000+ words. But I do plan on reading a bit more at a time, a bit more than what I do. Instead of one at a time, I'll probably read like the first 4 chapters, stop, read 5, maybe 6, stop, and then so on and so forth. I don't know. I'll see how I do it. Regardless, I'm going to read more than what I'm doing now, where I'm reading 1 or 2 a week, and then talking about them. Then rinse and repeat until I get finished with the story. I don't know. We'll see, but I'm good news to all the fans who like an Apple Sleep Experiment. So far, I'm really, really liking the story. And yes, out of the My Little Pony Creepypasta stories I read so far, this one is my favorite. Which I feel bad saying, not because I feel bad saying because every other story I read isn't really a good comparison. Except I stand by it, except maybe Butterflies, but it had some problems there that I just couldn't really ignore. But this video is already 25 minutes long now. I did not mean for it to be 25 minutes, but I ended up having a lot more to say about this chapter than I thought I did, especially compared to the other four, especially the last one, because the last one I didn't think I had much to say until I started recording it and I reread it to help me out a little bit. I re-looked through it and it helped me out. But with that said, y'all, this is going on too long now. It's supposed to be a short review, and it's 25 minutes, about to be 26. But until then, not until then, but I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. This has been the Gaming Reader. I enjoyed this chapter. What do you guys think? I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you want to subscribe, please do that. That'd be appreciated. Until then, y'all, this is the Gaming Reader. I will see y'all in the next video. God bless y'all, and peace out.